that's just a sliver in a much wider problem of Haiti not manufacturing much of anything anymore. So now you have an ecosystem of just this massive things being imported into the country that contributes to enormous environmental waste, like enormous stuff everywhere.
Hey guys, welcome back to Susty Soul. I'm here today with Rony and Harvey, the founders of Byas and Leon. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey.
So for those of you who are not familiar with the brand, Byas and Leon is a fashion brand, a vintage fashion brand based in Brooklyn, and they have a lot of like cool things in their shop. And I can't wait to, really showcase you guys and help everyone know more and more about you guys. So why don't you guys like start by giving like a formal description of the brand and like tell us a little bit more about yourselves.
Well, okay. Byas and Leon as a company has existed for about 7 years now. We started off getting clothing hand cut and sewn in our native Haiti, and now it's the latest manifestation is our shop, the Byas and Leon shop, and we've evolved to, our mission has evolved to incorporate all forms of ethical and sustainable fashion wares in our shop. Originally in Haiti, our company was fair trade in its philosophy, and now our shop caters to fair trade, vintage, and just a plethora of like ethical and sustainable fashion. So yeah.
Cool. So how did you guys meet?
I'll take that one. As I like to say, and Harvey hates it, but he moved to my block, and I had teach him how things around there. Right. And he showed enough respect, he became my man.
All right. Harvey doesn't sound too enthusiastic about that.
Right. And we've been friends ever since.
Cool. So, like, how did it all start in terms of the brand? Like, how did you guys decide to like start the brand together? And like the whole mission and vision. How did that like all come together? And when and how was that decision made to like start the brand?
You want to take this or I'll take it? All right. So essentially, I had another clothing store, and just wanted to, I guess, change up the way clothes were being made, because a lot of it's getting made in like these countries where people were being treated poorly. And Harvey, me knowing how his heart set up, and like we're aligned in a lot of ways. So I introduced the idea, and it helped me flesh it out, and then it just made the most sense to just combine forces and just try to take over the world. So
awesome.
That's what I would say in terms of how it started. But it's been a joint thing from the beginning. Like, for instance, Byas and Leon, like the name was Harvey's idea. Like our first logos, like a lot of like the creative stuff. Harvey was a big driving force behind, and couldn't happen without him. Yeah.
So, like, given the brand's significance within Haiti, because you hear like so much conversation around Haiti, and there's like a huge disconnect and misconception about the country itself. Like, so what's like your perspective and like like not vision, but like what's your overall like opinion on like the waist to shoe and like the whole misconception about what Haiti is and when it comes to the fashion industry?
Um, so, um, well, first of all, I mean, the public perception of Haiti is not the greatest. I
Mhm.
mean, especially have a president who shall not be named um, refers to our country as a shithole country. You
Mhm.
know, him saying that, him saying that, so blatantly, and the vulgarity of it was really shocking to a lot of people. But in
Mhm.
all actuality, that's a lot of Americans. That's just their attitude towards third world countries in general. Let's be real here.
Mhm.
So people's perception of Haiti, especially Haiti in particular, is not as, I don't know. It's not rendered as exotic seeming or as popular as other countries in the Caribbean like Jamaica, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, because we don't speak English.
Mhm.
We have a different language. So from the offset, from the jump, there's been that divide
Mhm.
between Haitians and just about everyone else in North America.
Right.
And add to the fact that decades of Western meddling um, in our politics and our natural resources and everything has desecrated the country in so many ways.
Mhm.
So again, public perception of Haiti is not great. It's a shithole country to a lot of people, and so right off the bat, I mean, we know for a fact that Haiti is not what people perceive it to be in many ways. It's not. I mean, yes, Haiti has its problems for sure, like any other third world country, but it's also a beautiful place.
Mhm.
It's also a beautiful place. It's also a place full of beautiful people, a rich history,
Mhm.
hardworking people,
Yeah.
loving people.
Right. Right.
So um, there's that. People vacation to Haiti.
Yeah, just not
Yeah.
American.
Just not many Americans, but people go on vacation to Haiti, and it's
Yeah.
one of those, if Americans, white Americans with money,
Mhm.
they know that Haiti is one of the best places to go for
Yeah.
vacation. If you know.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I mean, but as far as the realities of fashion, I mean, as far as the realities of manufacturing and manufacturing waste,
Mhm.
look, there are realities that I guess I'll let Ronnie speak on more.
In terms of fashion, I would say companies just going there and paying people meager wages to produce their garments.
Mhm.
That would be the biggest hindrance to like Haitian uh, upward mobility. Is the economic side of it. Haiti doesn't make its own. Like we don't know of any company in Haiti that makes its own fabric. So that's a waste stream that isn't necessarily there. Again, it's more of a waste economically because people are not being employed to do these things, which they can do. They have the land to do. They have, the resources to do. It's just not being done there.
Mhm.
So I feel in terms of Haiti, it's just a waste of potential
Mhm.
opposed to a waste of material. Um, if that answers your question.
No, yes, it does absolutely. Because I know like the waste issue is like a huge problem. Because you got like, apparently like Haiti gets like so much like donations and all that stuff, and it's like unfortunately like become like kind of like a, I don't want to say a dumping ground, but it's just like people just feel like they can just send all kinds of like fabrics and old clothing to Haiti, and it's like like it's a bad thing, like it's not helping. You know what I mean?
I
So.
wasn't
Mhm.
if that's what you're talking about, but of course that's a bad thing. Like I try to explain to people all the time, even my parents,
Mhm.
you can't compete with free.
Yeah.
If you want Haiti to grow economically, you cannot compete with free. If you're giving someone something, why would I pay for it down the block?
Right.
it doesn't make sense. So you like, and then those skills get lost because
there's no motivation.
No one does it because they can't get paid to do it. That economy dies. For instance, I'll give a quick example of why some people don't dislike Toms, the shoes, because they give shoes to an entire village, because I guess you buy a shoe and they give away a shoe.
Yeah.
And they'll give it out to an entire village. But that shoemaker that's been there for a long time, they don't see business for months. And then they go out of business. And then once Tom's the company, no shade on them, is not going back there like every month or every year. Right. They do their thing and then they move on to the next place. But now that person who made shoes may be doing something else. Right. And who's going to make it for those people now?
Right.
So that's why it's very hard to compete with free.
You just can't.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's like so true. So like go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that it just contributes. I mean, and then that cascades into other problems where it's like Haiti's Haiti, as Ronnie mentioned, like Haiti doesn't, to our knowledge, there is no textile manufacturing left in Haiti. There's no textile manufacturing left. There's no manufacturing of even the things that go into apparel, such as buttons. There's no manufacturing of that sort. But that's just a sliver in a much wider problem of Haiti not manufacturing much of anything anymore. So now you have an ecosystem of just this massive things being imported into the country that contributes to enormous environmental waste, enormous stuff everywhere. Because even free, I mean, there's stuff. There's so much like free clothing that you'll find little hills of just clothes that like nobody even cares.
Yeah, they got holes in it or they're super dirty.
Right. Nobody even. Right. So it adds to just a huge environmental problem. Really, just waste in several different forms. It just accumulates.
And Haiti hasn't really created a system to deal with waste in general. Like, it's not like, they have sanitation department that's coming and picking up your garbage Monday and Wednesday. Right. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So when you have an influx of things that people just don't know what to do with, it's going to go where? In the streets or in the sea, or maybe a landfill, maybe, but that's also rare.
Right. Absolutely.
Or it's burned.
Go ahead. You was going to say something? Sorry.
No, I said, or it's burned. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, not a problem at all. So with all that being said, and because I feel like there's so many people who are not aware of the huge problem, not only with the fashion industry, but the waste problem within the apparel industry. So through Byas and Leon and through the brand, how do you guys hope to educate people? Because I feel like more and more people need to really understand the why, and really need to understand the problem that you guys are addressing. And how do you guys do that aside from talking about the story and things like that? And or how do you guys feel? What do you guys think people should be doing to really educate themselves more about this particular problem? Or what do you think is blocking that? If that makes sense, if that question makes sense.
So, what is the question? I'm sorry, just repeat it. You said a lot, so I'm just trying to.
Oh, sorry. No,
it's fine.
So I guess in a nutshell, it's just how do you guys intend to educate people? Because there's so many misconceptions and there's so many people who do understand that there's a waste issue, and there's a lot of people that kind of get it. So how do you guys through Byas and Leon intend to educate the public and to educate customers about this particular problem through the brand? Was that
all right?
Sorry. We can come back to it if you want. We can come back to it if you want.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Harv's been spearheading a sustainability kind of forum that we want to start to host at the shop.
Oh, nice.
Where we'll try to maybe come up with some sort of curriculum and focus on fashion, of course, but also different parts of reducing our contribution to the waste stream. So that's one thing that we plan to do. And I think, we're not really shy or bashful about the story. So, the more podcasts or whatever we're on, that's kind of how I guess we'll spread the word, kind of just vocalizing what we're about. Because we're not, it's not like, oh, you're going to come into the store and someone's going to like hand a pamphlet in your face about this and that. We're not that kind of people, those kinds of people. We're not really in your face that way. But if you ask us a question, we'll be straightforward and honest about it. And I think that's the best way, the way we feel comfortable and the way we want to grow the business.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like just being honest about it and being like super genuine about it is like definitely the best way. So I hear you on that one. So, so what kind of feedback have you guys gotten like from customers, in terms of like not only buying like vintage, but when they become aware of like the significance of your brand, like what kind of feedback have you gotten? Like, do you encounter a lot of like misinformed customers, versus like, customers who are, who understand it all, and then customers are just, who are just completely, they just kind of want to shop. They don't really care about anything else. Like, what's that been like for you guys?
I mean, I want to say that it's the reception to our story, for those who care to find out, has been overwhelmingly positive.
Awesome.
When people find what we do and why we do it, I find that I feel like there's a Vice article somewhere that speaks on millennials and Generation Z.
Yeah.
More and more gravitating towards engaging with companies that they at least feel have some sort of social and environmental responsibility. That they at least. So you got to, and there's a lot of millennials and Generation Z people, and some people older than us who come into the shop, and a lot of people just come in and they think it's a vintage store and that's enough for them, and they're like, oh, it's vintage, so I'm like contributing, I'm like helping the planet somehow, so I'm good with that. For some people, that's enough. I find that for most people who shop at the shop, that's enough to know that, hey, I'm contributing. Vintage is good, right? Buying, not contributing to like fast fashion is good.
Right.
So I'm here. This seems like a thrift shop or a vintage shop. I'm going to partake in this, establishment, and that's enough for most people. So, yeah, and like I said, we're not the type of people, hey, here's a pamphlet, about, do you know how much wasted, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
As Ronnie, you're right, we don't do that. Again, the official spiel for the shop, and I just wrote this the other day, which is great. It's like we provide ethical and sustainable fashion, but it also serves the shop serves as an Afro-diasporic cultural hub, right? That with that in mind, we have a lot of events, and some of our events have turned into entire series or recurring events of the same theme. And some of those events, as Ronnie mentioned, we do our best to educate people. So whoever has the ears to listen and would like to come with an open mind, we're going to roll out our sustainability series, teaching people about sustainability, why it's important, and why it is we do what we do. And these are the things that we can, we can hope to. We're addressing an intersectional issue that is centuries in the making.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? There is no singular answer to this. There's no overnight answer to it. And me and Ronnie are just two dudes. We have but hours in the day, but so much manpower. We still work full-time jobs, not for fun. You know what I'm saying? So we do our best, and we try. educate people, and yes.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely understand. Like it definitely, it's like you, yeah, like you were saying, like you can definitely do but so much. Like you guys are just two people, so, but it's just like every effort helps, right? Like the intent is there, and then the community will continue to grow. So it's definitely exciting. So like in terms of like the process for like growing the brand, like did you guys like run into any like roadblocks while you were building the brand and like opening the storefront in Bed-Stuy? Just in terms of like yeah, just like kind of like starting everything and really launching everything, like did you guys feel like you ran into any roadblocks as entrepreneurs?
I think for a couple of years, all we hit were roadblocks.
That's so real.
How it is. Hey, buckle up, pal. Anybody listen to this wants to be an entrepreneur, buckle up.
Because it's
Yep.
Buckle up.
in the beginning, and even till this day, getting stuff in and out of Haiti isn't easy.
Yeah.
So figuring out the best way to do it, we've sent full runs of like materials to be made, and they literally fell off the boat in the middle of the Caribbean Ocean or whatever it's called.
Oh
You know what I mean?
Like, oh my goodness.
You know, we've seen it all. Like, have found custom bags that officers giving us a hard time. Like,
Yeah.
it just
corruption,
and you know, just craziness. Like and then our own mistakes, because again, we're not trained in fashion.
Right.
So like, you know, we'll try to put something out, we may be overzealous, something happens and it doesn't come out the way we thought.
It don't hit.
And then we got to correct.
We got to swallow that loss. A couple $1,000 gone.
And then it's like, okay, and then you try something else.
Right.
But, you know, as long as you got, you know, a little bite in you, you're not going to quit.
Right. Absolutely. So like
and in New York,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
And you guys are both native New Yorkers, right? If I'm not mistaken, yeah. I feel like it's just like, I don't know. It's just something about us New Yorkers. Like we just, I don't know, there's just like a certain level of grit that we have that we can kind of like surpass like a lot of those challenges. So I definitely understand.
a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that, man.
Yeah.
But a lot of these New they talk tough, but they be folding up. We do it every day, all the time. Fold up. First sign of difficulty, people folding.
Right.
People out.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, as far as the shop,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't. I don't know if I'd say. I mean, to me, me and Ronnie don't really perceive them as roadblocks. Like, I mean, nothing has stopped us. I mean, we've encountered difficulties and challenges.
More hurdles.
That's probably a better word. I should have chosen a different word.
Nothing has happened that we didn't think our way out of, or just, you know, I mean, just work our way out of. Really, most of it is just work. Are you willing to put in the time? Yeah. Are you willing to put hours, the time, the intellectual energy, the creative energy, and just your capacity for grit? You know what I mean? Just waking up and your capacity for doing things you don't want to do.
I think a lot of entrepreneurship, even though I don't even like the word, is about how much misery can you take.
That's a great way of looking at it. Oh my goodness.
I want to add to that. How much can you take in service to the vision that you want to manifest?
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how much, you know what I mean? How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? And what are you willing? How hard are you willing to work? How smart are you willing to get? How much are you willing to learn?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how much how
and are you willing to ask?
Right.
That's a big thing.
Right.
That you as an entrepreneur, you may have a little business and you may think, oh, you know, you don't need to, or you may not want to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
It's super. Like even when you feel up, there's someone who you know, may give you a different perspective you didn't think about before.
Right.
So it's important to, I think, always listen, you know, or be willing to listen, or be open to it. Not saying you have to take advice, because some people are fools, but, you know.
You going to say something else? Sorry, I thought I cut you off.
No, cool.
No. Okay. All right, cool. So, like, As entrepreneurs of color, within the vintage fashion space, like, have you encountered like other entrepreneurs of color within the space? Like, do you feel like there's a, I mean, of course you have like a lack of diversity in a lot of areas, but like from you guys' experience, like, did you feel like there was definitely a lack of diversity, or if you guys had a very unique experience as entrepreneurs of color within the vintage fashion arena by any chance, or?
I mean, we definitely. I mind my business. Like I mean, there's a couple players we keep our eyes on,
Mm-hmm.
but that. I mean, first and foremost, there are hard. I mean, people of color in the vintage business,
or in the sustainable fashion,
sustainability period.
Yeah.
But sustainable fashion, probably, I think
that isn't like a T-shirt.
Yeah.
No knocking T-shirt.
Right.
I think I mean, I'm saying this unofficially, but I can confidently say that Rony and I are the only brothers of color or entrepreneurs of color who have catered specifically to ethical and sustainable fashion. I don't know the other players in that specific lane. And that's cool. They're similar. I mean, there's other people of color in the vintage world, and then there's other entrepreneurs of color in sustainability, but sustainability of a different form, like in the tech world. You know what I mean?
Right.
For sure. You know what I mean? Shout to all my brothers and sisters out there doing their thing, but no one's quite in the lane that we've carved out for ourselves. And we kind of like it here. We mind our business. Like I said, we haven't really interacted directly with any other big players in the game, but we aware. We got our eyes open.
We'll get there.
So we don't make it a and no shade to them.
Yeah.
Everybody definitely we just busy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we just busy.
We don't have time to be at every event.
Yeah.
We hardly any because we just busy. So it's just. We just so busy building what we got over here.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to worry about what's going on
with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're building your own empire. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like,
kind of low key.
What?
I said we're kind of hermits too, low key. Right?
I love my crib.
You low key homebody.
Like being in my house, bro.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. So, over the past few months, like you guys have been doing like a lot of community events, and that's something that I also love about you guys and the brand. So, like, talk a little bit about the events that you guys have been putting on, and talk a little bit about your Heart to Heart series coming up too.
Okay. So, in the shop's capacity as an Afro-diasporic cultural hub, we, from the jump, when we were renovating the space, I mean, even before that, we knew in our hearts we wanted a space that would, that could serve as a place of bonding, of community, of learning, of study, of just a place of all of these things, particularly within members of the African diaspora. He was in that. So we got the shop, we opened the shop, so right away we set to creating like our own in-house original concepts. We have so we've had and not to mention other. So the very first event we had was a book, like an opening for a book.
Yeah,
Haitian American. She's from Guadeloupe, actually.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Nice.
But Nadej, shout to Nadej. But she's an author, and she approached us off back like, hey, I just wrote this book, self-published, self-edited, and I would love to, the title of the book escapes me right now, but I can definitely get
Miracle Village.
Miracle Village, yes. Miracle
Awesome.
Village. Shout to Miracle Village, yeah. And so we held a reading of her book. You know, some of her biggest fans came through. You know what I'm saying? And they vibed out. Yeah, so that was dope. And from there, we hit the ground running. Like, we created the Shoot and Tell series, the Heart to Heart series.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we done?
Other people's events. Like, people, yeah. You know, creator, entrepreneur, activist. We had the wine and jazz.
We've had wine and jazz. Oh, that's another series we have. Sweet Taboo, yeah.
Nice.
Where we combine jazz and libations.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Harvey obviously fancier than me. I'm just out here trying to drink.
Yeah, I only found out about that word. I didn't even know that word existed.
Libations?
Libations.
Oh yeah, I love that word. I love that word because I like to drink too. So.
It sounds like something a dog does.
Right. Like something. Libations. Right. I did not know. The only reason I got hit to that word is because for the first Sweet Taboo event we had, we collaborated with a liquor store. Shout to Happy Cork, also in Bed-Stuy, also black owned.
Nice. Say the name one more time.
Happy Cork.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead.
Happy Cork. So yeah, we collaborated with them, and legally, we could not promote. We couldn't say liquor.
Oh.
Like, they just put us on to certain things we couldn't do legally that their liquor license didn't account for, because we don't have a liquor license.
Okay.
So they were like, use the word libations. That's like the happy word that I'm allowed to say. Cool. And that's why I was like, libations. Oh, look at that. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we do a number, like I said, we've done a number of things, and we're just building up our repertoire even further. As I mentioned earlier, our sustainability series will be starting in November.
Mm-hmm.
And Heart to Heart is basically a platform for artists. Artists come with 5 or 6 of their pieces, but it has like a conversational twist. So it's different from the typical like art showcase, where the conversation in Heart to Heart begins with the artist posing the question to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, one by one, it's like the artist poses the question like, okay, people, how does my art, what messages is my art communicating to you?
Mm-hmm.
What emotions does it induce? Does it invoke? Et cetera, et cetera. And that just starts a whole organic, beautiful conversation of people talking their mouths off to, you know, just letting the artist know what it does. And it's so fulfilling for everyone involved. So that's what Heart to Heart is, and which the next one is Sunday, the 27th.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's something that, yeah, I really, really love that. I love how you guys are like incorporating a lot of the community and just like really you know, encouraging that engagement, not only with the brand, but also supporting other entrepreneurs. So that's really, really awesome. So, like, what advice would you guys have in terms of for individuals looking to start like a similar brand with a similar mission? Like, do you have like any advice for them, or like resources that you feel that they could use, that you guys are willing to share, of course. But you know, for people who are like looking to start something similar, like, what advice would you give them? For people like kind of like just starting out, or like they're still just like, what?
No advice. Go out and learn.
Nah, we're joking.
I would say use the internet. It is a useful tool.
Sure is.
Use your network of friends, because you never know who knows who.
Mm-hmm.
I would say keep your eyes open, because someone is trying to take your money. Mm-hmm. It is your job to take your money and your vision and, you know, all of your intellectual property.
Right.
Be sure to protect that, and be cognizant of the fact that, you know, the victories are going to come, but don't rest on them.
Right.
Because it's short-lived.
And And that, bro, when you start, it's gonna suck for a long. It's gonna suck for a while. The only thing keeping you going is your passion for it. I mean,
it sucks right now sometimes.
Right.
Yeah,
people think
that's
because
real.
the shop, we don't made it. Not at all. If we made it, we wouldn't be working as hard as we do. We would have left, you know what I'm saying, our occupation. So it's not what it is. Like, so I mean, it's going to be very difficult and challenging for a while. And the only thing keeping you going is going to be your passion and your love for whatever it is. So that means before you even start any of this, do some soul searching and identify what it is that you're passionate about.
Right.
It starts there. Don't let people who let money be their motivator. Let me get into this because I see other people getting money in this thing. So let me start this thing. You're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
As soon as you hit the first pang of difficulty,
once you realize you're not making money,
you know what I mean? Because people realistic perceptions of what it takes for success. All these successful businesses out here, Apple, IBM, whatever, you know what I mean?
Apple had to get bailed out like 2 times,
right?
In the beginning.
You feel me? Like,
So
it people don't see the oftentimes, sometimes decades of struggle. So it's like, find what it is that makes your heart pump, that makes you, you know what I mean, that you really passionate about.
And
you're willing to do without being paid.
Right.
Because, Byas and Leon, paying us. We wouldn't have jobs. You know what I mean? They're paying us out.
It's for the love, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It makes us happy.
Yeah.
It fulfills us on a spiritual level to do what we do and to grow it. It's like a kid, his baby, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God, it's growing, and it makes us happy. So it's never been about the money for us. The money we've thrown into this.
Dude, I was talking to someone today, and I was like, if I could have all that money back, I'd have a nice investment portfolio. Right? I would have a nice...
Right. Nice car.
Yeah, that's
maybe
too.
A couple cars. You know what I'm saying?
But,
so it's like,
that's not the route we chose. So
that's really it, man. Like, just man, one of the biggest lessons I learned in this life is just like, we are, as human beings, we are responsible ultimately for identifying what is fulfilling to the contents of our own soul.
Yeah.
Not we are responsible for defining for ourselves what success means to us individually. Not what it means to your parents, not what it means to your homies, what it means to you. Yeah. And then going and getting that, manifesting that. Because so many, we see it all the time, our own homies, you know what I mean? They went the path that, I guess, even us, we even me, our lives have, for a lot of our lives, we're doing what we thought, you know what I mean, would make our community happy, our parents happy, but we ourselves weren't happy.
Right.
And it took time for us to snap out of that and kind of shift,
Yeah.
And a big word, phrase that I had to teach myself was just like, fuck it.
That's true, yeah.
One of my friends.
That's true.
Like, especially when you do the best you can and you just kind of let the cards lay where they lay. Fuck it. Yeah. Like, it is what it is. Right. It's going to be what it's going to be. You did what you could.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and just not beating yourself up when things go left or right, because that's a lot of life. Things going a little bit more left or a little bit more right than you want, and you're just trying to make the best of that situation.
Absolutely. So, a question I have for you guys too is, in the spirit of fashion and vintage clothing and valuing items, like, what pieces do you guys have? A piece of clothing that you cherish? Like, do you have a specific item that you just can't live without, or like that you hold very valuable, like it has a special purpose or meaning for you? Like, we're curious.
Well, ain't nothing I can't live without, really. Yeah, you can live without me, son. Yeah, no. Yeah, you can live without me. I'm talking. I'm talking in terms of an item.
Yeah, like clothing.
Like, I've worked really hard, like inwardly, to detach myself from an attachment to things. I like things, I enjoy things, but there's nothing that I possess is gonna make or break me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but now as far as my favorite piece, okay, my favorite piece currently I have a motorcycle biker jacket. And that it is the most badass jacket you'll ever see. It's low-key kind of trash. Did you even hear that? You heard what he said?
Is low-key kind of drag?
Trash. No.
Oh, trash. Okay.
He's because it's not.